Hi everyone, welcome to our talk, From Code to Bedside, Implementing Artificial Intelligence Using Quality Improvement Methods. Amelia and I are very excited to be here speaking with all of you today. We'll start with just some brief introductions. My name is Margaret Smith. I am the Director of Operations for the Stanford Healthcare AI Applied Research Team, or HART. My co-presenter today is Amelia Sattler, who is the Associate Medical Director for the HART team, as well as a primary care faculty physician at Stanford Healthcare. At HART, our mission is to bring leading-edge AI technologies from code, early stage development, all the way through to bedside, where we are impacting care for patients, providers, and health systems at the bedside. All of that in support of the quadruple aim. And we leverage a unique combination of methods to guide our research projects. The goal of our presentation today is to share that unique approach, which we outlined in a recent publication in the Journal of General Internal Medicine, and I have pictured here. We've also shared it as a handout associated with this presentation, and we encourage all of you to read it after you've heard our presentation. Before we jump into outlining our approach with an example of a real research project we have ongoing with an industry partner, I wanted to start with the why. We noticed, as many already have, that despite increasing interest in how artificial intelligence can augment and improve healthcare delivery, the development of new AI models continues to outpace the adoption in existing healthcare processes. This is illustrated well by the large number of papers published heralding the performance and accuracy of new models, and unfortunately the relative dearth of literature outlining how AI models have been implemented and are demonstrating value today for healthcare delivery. In a survey conducted by the Harvard Business Review, senior leaders were asked what factors most often derail AI implementations. And the foremost issue cited was the challenges of integrating with existing human processes. Therefore, our primary thesis is that integration of healthcare AI models into the healthcare delivery system is difficult because current approaches to development separate the development of AI models from the complex healthcare environments in which they are intended to function, and that quality improvement inspired research methods are far better suited for developing, translating, and studying AI technology in healthcare. In effect, our approach is flipping the current narrative and approach on its head. From, okay, I have a machine learning model, now what? To, okay, I have this problem I need to solve. How could machine learning enable the solution? So, pooling our team members' respective expertise in quality improvement, research, and informatics, as well as our experiences partnering internally with computer scientists at Stanford, as well as externally with industry partners on several projects, we outline an approach that guides all of our projects. Starting with key activities we propose that should be done prior to model selection or even development, which are similar to the activities you would see in traditional quality improvement problem-solving approaches. Things like identifying and articulating the problem, forming the team best equipped to solve that problem, analyzing the current state, mapping the current workflows, and then determining key features for success. All of that work then culminates in assessing the utility of AI in the context of your problem. We then propose a series of activities that you see on the right-hand side of the screen that should be done concurrently with model selection and/or development, as well as validation on your data. These activities include workflow development, simulation, and iterative testing, leveraging the plan, do, study, adjust approach before finally broader implementation and evaluation. To bring this, what we call the HART method, to life, Amelia and I will walk through an example of one of our projects with an external technology company, starting with the problem all the way through till iterative testing. Starting with the problem. I likely did not need to sell this group on the merits of starting by identifying and articulating a problem, but as a brief recap, this is arguably the most important step because it's not only the beginning of the process of clarifying the potential use case for AI, but also helps bring into focus who is this problem important to and why. For this project, the problem identified was a high number of ambulatory sensitive emergency department visits in primary care patients diagnosed with chronic diseases. Looking at over 2 years of ambulatory sensitive admissions data, we see that the top 2 categories are diabetes and heart failure related. You might be asking yourself, why does this matter? Why is this a problem? Well, ambulatory sensitive admissions or conditions are those for which good outpatient care can potentially prevent the need for hospitalization, and therefore is an indication that there may be an opportunity to improve outpatient chronic disease management. This is also particularly relevant for patients that are under capitated health plans or in a value-based care system where you're trying to improve overall care management and reduce utilization and improve overall health for the patient. So with this problem in mind, we then set about assembling our team, which is the next step in the HEART method. For AI projects, there are really 5 main roles that need to be represented. These are sponsors, both technical and clinical, process owners and end users, the people who really know the current workflows and pain points within them, subject matter experts who can help guide the conversation and advise the team, and most importantly within this subject matter experts group is your data scientists and AI model developers. And lastly, project management support or research management support. As I mentioned, for this project, we partnered with a technology company who bring the AI and data science expertise. But broadly, we had physicians, clinical pharmacists, clinical educators, case managers, as well as population health experts and medical informatics experts. And lastly, broad sponsorship across leadership of our health plan, primary care, as well as our external technology partner. With our team assembled and our problem identified, the next step is to conduct a thorough current system analysis, employing many familiar quality improvement approaches, including process mapping, root cause analysis, and prioritization. This analysis was compiled using quantitative and qualitative approaches, including focus groups and semi-structured interviews. Given the socio-technical nature of the analysis and healthcare environments in general, we leverage human factors engineering frameworks such as the Systems Engineering Initiative for Patient Safety, or SEEPS, to look broadly at the gaps in the current system related to technology and tools, social norms, as well as workflows. This work is a pivotal step towards understanding when and how AI might be useful. I won't go through all of the pain points prioritized and identified by this team, but I will highlight just a few that were particularly important for model development. The first was that care, and therefore data, is episodic, and deriving insights into the level of risk is really not feasible for a human to do, and that there's an overwhelming quantity of unorganized data to sort through. They also found a lack of remote patient monitoring technologies that integrate with the health system seamlessly, and that existing risk stratification tools do not consider psychosocial risk factors along with medical. I want to emphasize that we included our AI and data scientists in all of these discussions so that the data needs and aggregation for algorithm development begin with a much clearer understanding of current workflows and the gaps within the system. For example, in this project, before we did this analysis, we did not realize that we would need remote patient monitoring data along with EHR data. And furthermore, we also did not realize the need for medical data as well as social data that indicates whether or not a patient may or may not live at home alone or have other factors that could play into their risk levels. We now come to assessing the utility of an AI-enabled solution, a key decision point that many model developers are not afforded before they spend the time and resources developing a new algorithm. And that question is, could AI help solve this problem in a meaningful way? Assessing the utility of AI is a multifaceted decision, but in our approach, it starts by translating our root causes from our previous step into key drivers or key features for success. I like to think of these as a high-level set of design specifications for the future state workflows and tools derived from the current state analysis. Many of these key drivers will be purely workflow based, but the important thing here is to determine if there is a key driver that could be addressed with AI, and then what type of AI, whether it be a classification algorithm or a prediction algorithm. You also need to consider the question of build versus buy, as well as the question of whether there's capacity in the system to act on the model output if an AI algorithm was integrated into the workflows. For this project, I want to highlight the key driver that really kicked off model development and clinical validation, and that was the ability to anticipate a patient's risk of utilization or risk of hospitalization based on medical and social factors in synthesized EHR and remote patient monitoring data. I'll now hand it over to Amelia to walk us through the rest of the HEART method.
Thank you, Margaret. Once we've determined that there is the utility of an AI-based solution, we move on to what this solution might look like in the context of a real-world clinical environment. In order to do that, the next step of our process is to conduct and go through the exercise of using design thinking methods to visualize what the future state might look like. So how would things be different if this technology existed? And what are the key features that would enable the workflow? From there, you can develop prototypes and test data flows in a simulated environment prior to moving on to a clinical context. Why do we do this? So going through this step ensures that we are being thoughtful about the solution in a way that promotes feasibility, acceptability of the intervention, as well as coming up with a solution that is efficient and effective. By testing the technology in a simulated workflow, you are able to test quickly and learn from the implementation and make adjustments as needed. In the context of our project example, after identifying the key driver, we were able to move forward in developing an AI solution that would help meet the need. To develop the model, we needed a large amount of data in order to train the model, and we are also undergoing ongoing clinical validation to ensure the integrity of the process. At the same time, we're also moving into exploring this clinical and technical integration and how the workflows might integrate into the current environment. We've had some future state design sessions, as well as usability sessions involving mock-ups and prototypes. And all the while, we've been centering our work around the problem that we're all aiming to solve. Again, our ultimate goal in this phase is to strike the right balance of feasibility, acceptability, and actionability. This is a zoomed in version of our project example. And as you can see, beyond development of the technology itself, there are multiple complex components that need to align in order to integrate the tool into the current working environment. The data must flow to and from the electronic medical record. Ours is Epic. It also must flow between the provider-facing risk prediction and remote patient monitoring tools, as well as the patient-facing remote patient monitoring application. Each of these components in isolation is very powerful, but the data only becomes actionable when it's integrated into the current workflows and processes efficiently and effectively. After building the model and starting to develop the technology, in order to move forward, we start with a draft workflow based on the proposed process map, and then move into testing, leveraging the quality improvement PDSA framework. You can run iterative tests using real case-based scenarios in an environment that's simulated in order to prepare for launching in a real clinical environment. The goal is that once we've gone through that process enough and we've developed something that has been trialed, we can then plan what a more widespread implementation might look like. This part of the process allows for adjustments prior to putting the product in front of people. This way we can make fast adjustments opposed to fast adjustments that only affect a limited amount of people in a test environment, as opposed to a lot of people in a real world clinical environment. In our project example, we're currently working on designing a series of studies. We're working to test and improve the data pipelines and workflows in our simulation lab. And we're also launching a series of small pilot studies to test the patient and provider-facing workflows. After refining the implementation through multiple PDSA cycles, we can then conduct an operational study to evaluate the longer-term clinical effectiveness of the product. So, why use the HEART method? Unlike traditional research, these methods do not seek to control for variation, but rather understand it in order to learn how a technology will function in practice, coupled with user-centered design techniques. Different than new drugs or even medical devices, the efficacy of AI technology is wholly dependent on the data in a given system and how the tool is integrated into a relevant environment. Research methods aim to isolate and prove an intervention's ability to influence a controlled system independent of where and how it's implemented. QI methods seek to understand the sources of variability in a current system and facilitate model and workflow design that withstand normal variation. In contrast, research answers the question, does it work? Whereas QI answers the question, how does it work? As we've described, the HEART method shifts focus from implementation and development for the sake of an exciting idea to the development and implementation of AI solutions in healthcare that center around solving existing problems and have defined targets and outcome measures. Doing so allows for refinement through trial and error in the context of a real-world environment, which holds challenges that we're not always able to anticipate or moderate. After taking the time to understand how a solution works, you can then study and spread the AI-based solution in a way that promotes user engagement and widespread adoption of the new workflows. So this is a summary of our approach. Again, as you can see here, it maps to the fundamentals of quality improvement. Before we even develop an AI model, we identify and articulate the problem. We form the team to do the work. that has all of the relevant players. We take the time and do the work of looking into the current state and determining the key features that are needed for success. And only then do we decide if an artificial intelligence powered solution could be helpful to solving the problem. After that, while we're working on model development, we also think about what it looks like to integrate the model into the current clinical workflows and go through a series of PDSA cycles to refine the model and the workflow so that we can successfully implement and spread the method. Thank you so much for your time. We also encourage you to take a look at our website. The link is in the presentation. We have more information about some of our other projects, and we also have a video that will play that's introducing our new simulation center. Thank you so much.